ago, far across the land, magic was an abundant source, and many magical things happened. There were things called guilds, grand magic games, celebrations, and even the stars themselves helped us from their celestial homes. The world was full of wonder and mystery, and believe it or not, back then, mages didn't need a grimoire. Mana flowed freely inside them instead, but as time progressed, a great catastrophic event happened and nearly destroyed us all, and we lost our way. Now things are a bit different, but still we find joy and magic in everything we do. And in our little family here, right, Asta, you know? Orsi asked as he noticed the two were fast asleep. Getting up, Orsi laid Yuno down and covered him up first. Orsi then went to do the same to Asta, brushing the boy's light blonde hair. Thinking back, it had been a miracle that the boy managed to survive at all the first 5 years, since he was fending for himself, deep in the forest, and it was a miracle Orsi found him that day. And when he did find him, the boy was crying his heart out, covered in rain. Orsi couldn't help but laugh, as now Asta was a rambunctious loudmouth, but was always happy to help out anyone in need, and was fast to make friends with everyone that he met. Orsi also noticed that he was abnormally strong for his age, but he didn't think too much about it. Orsi just knew that both his boys would someday be the pride of Hodge Village. Yuno and Asta would grow a rough relationship. When they were around each other and other people, they'd argue and bicker at each other, but when Sister Lily was around, you could swear that they were best friends, laughing and getting along. Deep down, they cared about each other, and Lord have mercy if anyone messed with one of them, because it was crazy when they fought together. They had perfect chemistry with one another. It was something truly magical, but Asta was somehow even stranger, as he had steadily produced fire and doing magical spells. Nothing too crazy though, but it was still amazing since he didn't have a grimoire. However, the weirdest thing at all was that fire had no effect on him. In fact, he actually ate fire, but just not his own. There was one thing that Asta always kept with him, and that was a scarf. And Asta treasured it more than anything. One day, Yuno would be given a letter and asked to deliver it. Once Asta found out, he had a bad feeling about it and decided to follow Yuno. And once he did, he saw Yuno being scared by two men. Yuno's necklace was stolen. Asta was enraged and actually charged right at the man, yelling Fire Dragon's Iron Fist, which sent the man flying as a huge amount of fire erupted from Asta. He continued by yelling Fire Dragon Sword Horn as he attacked the other man, which sent him flying, but also did quite a bit of damage to the town as well. Mainly the bar, which caused a man to come out and see what the damage was and who caused it. "Hey, are you the brat that caused all this damage or what?" the man yelled at Asta and Yuno. "Yeah, I'm the one who did it, but I was protecting my brother from these two drunk men that attacked him and stole from him. Nobody else was gonna do it," Asta yelled right back. This caused all the angry villagers to be silent and not to be so angry, as Yuno was still crying. "Well, in that case, it was self-defense. And I like you, kid. What's your name?" the man asked. Asta introduced himself, and the man said his name was Yami, and that when Asta was old enough, he should come find him and join his magic knight squad, the Black Bulls. Asta agreed, as something in his soul just pushed him to do so. Once he left, Asta and Yuno made a vow to each other that from this day on, they were true rivals, and Yuno declared that he would be the Wizard King, in order to protect everyone that he cared about. Asta promised that one day, he'd make his own guild so that he could bring people together, and there would be a place where everyone could just be a family, and share a never-ending adventure with each other. And if he had to become the Wizard King to do it, then he would. Years would pass, and Asta would become extremely powerful, and people began to call him Asta the Salamander, as they felt it matched his fiery personality and recklessness. Yuno, however, had a more calm personality, and his wind magic had gotten stronger, but he wasn't even close to Asta's level yet. Asta had spent every day refining his magic and pushing it past his limits, and at this point, everyone thought he didn't have any limits anymore. The day of the selection ceremony came, and everyone was wondering what grimoire would Asta get. But as all the grimoires began to fly towards their owners, Asta never got one. But he wasn't surprised by this, as something was telling him that he didn't need some book, that his magic was something truly special. However, everyone was in shock as Yuno had gotten a 4-leaf clover grimoire. Asta wasn't surprised at all, and in fact, he was actually kind of excited to see how strong his rival could get. On their way back home, Yuno would get stopped by some royals who demanded that Yuno hand over his grimoire to them, as no commoner should be allowed to have it. Asta gritted his teeth as he was about to beat the hell out of them, but then stopped as Yuno said that he could handle them himself. Which he did, as Yuno would summon a giant wind falcon and sent the 2 royals flying back and slammed into a wall. And Asta couldn't help but laugh until he heard something with his enhanced senses and smelled something that just wasn't right. Asta managed to push Yuno out of the way as chains came right at them. Asta grabbed the chains, and just by him grabbing them, they began to melt in his hands. And Revchi appeared and was completely shocked that his chains weren't affecting Asta at all. Asta began to take a deep breath in, gathering magic as he slung Revchi into the air by the chains and yelled, "Fire Dragons Roar!" as a huge blast of fire erupted. The sound of what could only be described as a dragon's roar could be heard all throughout the Forsaken Realm and even close to the capital. Revchi was completely destroyed as he hit the ground immediately. A portal would open and out would walk Yami. "Wow, kid, that was some magic. I could sense it all the way at the capital. Anyway, let's just cut to the chase. How about it? You want to join my Magic Knight squad or not?" Yami said with a smile. And Asta immediately agreed, saying yes, of course. Yami would smile and would see Yuno, and he offered the same thing to him, but Yuno declined, saying that he wanted to see if he could make it through the Magic Knight exams by himself. He knew that Asta would be able to do it, as he'd always relied on Asta to help him out. But to be a true rival, he needed to take his own path towards his goal, and that he wouldn't join the same squad as Asta for that reason. Yami smiled, telling Asta to come with him, reaching his fist towards Yuno and smiling, saying that he would be there during the selection exam. The two would fist bump and vow to meet again after they both became Magic Knights. Asta left with Yami, his blonde hair blowing in the wind along with his scarf blowing behind him, and from a certain distance they looked like dragon scales. Asta had fire in his eyes, his muscles burned in anticipation, and Yami loved it, while Finral was terrified. "You really picked up a monster this time, Captain," he thought to himself. The 3 left, and once Yuno got home, he told everyone what had happened, and Orsi was too excited to wait. He flew around telling everyone the news that Asta the Salamander was now a full-fledged Magic Knight. Meanwhile, Asta arrived at the Black Bull's base, and already he could hear what was happening, and deep inside, Asta felt like he was finally home. Something had awoken in him, and he was ready for it. Opening up the door, it was utter chaos and confusion, but something weird happened. He saw a place called Fairy Tale, seeing a woman that had a barrel of booze tipped up and just chugging it down. Seeing a man painting pictures away as they came to life. A woman with scarlet red hair. That one kind of scared him, to be honest. And he saw a man that was flirting with several women. And then seeing this big, tall, muscular man who looked like he could bench press mountains. He then saw a blonde-haired girl in a blue skirt as she smiled brightly. The sun itself was a candle compared to her. She reached out her hand towards Asta, and then it all faded, and there everyone was. And Finral began to introduce them all, beginning with Vanessa, a pink-haired woman that almost always was drinking. Next was Luck the Cherry Berserker, a boy who was always looking for a fight. After that, it was Gauche, a guy who was way too obsessed with his sister. Next was Gray, and there wasn't much to say, along with Gordon, who also didn't have much to say. Finally, there was Magna, who was like Yami's second in command. Asta felt pain in his soul, but didn't know why. He also didn't know what the vision was about. "Captain Yami, sir. Permission to do the baptism by fire?" Magnus asked, and Yami just told him to do whatever he wanted to, because he had to take a dump. "Listen here, rookie. Captain Yami may have chosen you, but that doesn't mean we have to accept you. It's my job to see if you're worthy enough to be part of the Black Bulls," Magnus said, getting up in Asta's face. "Magna, I would be careful if I was you. This guy's a serious monster. He took down a former Magic Knight with no problem at all. In fact, he did it with one attack," Finral said, backing up, and before Magna could say anything, Asta got right up in his face, saying, "I'm gonna make you eat those words, loudmouth. Bring it on." Magna, then feeling like his dignity was on the line, decided to skip all of the warm-ups and go straight to the fight. "You got a big mouth. Let's see if you can back it up," Magna said as he sent several fireballs to Asta, as they all hit and erupted in fire, and Magna thought he had won, until he heard Asta say, "Wow, this fire is absolutely disgusting. Are you sure you're a fire mage? I mean, come on, this is really bad tasting," as Asta ate all of Magna's fire, surprising everyone. "Now I got a fire in my belly," Asta said, as he speed blitzed Magna, yelling "Fire Dragons, Wing Attack." This sent Magna straight through the base, and Asta appeared behind him, landing a second punch that sent Magna back through the base and through the bathroom that Yami was using, and into a tree that exploded on impact. Asta would then stand there laughing, declaring himself the winner. "This guy's an absolute insane monster. He's just a total monster. Where did he come from?" the Black Bull members said in complete disbelief. But they had to believe it. It happened just right in front of them. Magna would be out cold, not waking up anytime soon. And then Yami would come out, wanting to know what the hell they were doing. But he pretty much figured it out, saying that he should have warned them about Asta. But he couldn't be bothered, so he went back to taking a dump. Once Magna woke up, he immediately went up to Asta, saying that he was a real man. Asta laughed at hearing this and told Magna that he was a real man himself for just being able to take 2 attacks from him. "Not a whole lot of people can even take 1 hit from me," Asta said, smiling at Magna, who felt a lot better knowing that several people couldn't even handle 1 attack, which made him feel more determined to gain strength. "Oh, by the way, what type of magic do you use? I've never seen anything like it before," Magna asked, and everyone else was dying to know as well. "I use an ancient form of magic known as Dragon Slayer magic. It's a magic that was created to slay dragons and taught to us by dragons," Asta said rather proudly. Everyone was amazed, saying that they never even knew magic like that existed. "You're talking about magic from before the Great Catastrophe, aren't you, Asta?" Vanessa said shocked that Asta even knew about it, let alone learned it. "That's right. I was taught by a spirit of a fire dragon named Igneal. But one day he just vanished and I never saw him again," Asta said. Everyone couldn't believe what they were hearing, and some of them didn't even want to believe it. "That's enough, everyone. Let's give Asta time to settle in. Get with me, I'll show you to your room," Magna said, and showed Asta everything. And then his room. Once Asta was alone, he began to write a letter to everyone, telling them everything that had happened, and days would pass and Asta would settle in just fine. And then the day of the Magic Knight exam would come, and Asta was excited and tagged along with Yami and Finral to see how Yuno handled himself. And Yuno absolutely destroyed everything. His determination pushed him to new heights, and when it came to combat, Yuno used a very similar attack to one he called Sky Emperor Vortex Fist, which was based on Asta's Fire Dragon's Iron Fist, and needless to say, Yuno obliterated his opponent, who nearly died. Asta was amazed, but also angry, as Finral had to cover his mouth so that he didn't interrupt the exams. Yuno would come up as almost everyone raised their hands for him, but the only person who didn't was Yami. Yuno would choose to go with the Golden Dawn. After the exam, Asta would return and immediately began training like crazy, as he was still rather mad at Yuno for copying his attack. Everyone could sense his magic power going crazy, and this sent a shiver down their spines. Asta would be going so hard and extreme that he didn't even notice when Yami came back with another new recruit. And once Yami got back, he'd see a literal mountaintop explode, and immediately knew it was Asta. "Finral, go get Asta before that pyromaniac burns down the whole forest," Yami said as he introduced Noelle to everyone, saying that she was their second new recruit. At the same time, Charmy came back from her mission that she was on, saying that she got a lot of new food recipes that she wanted to try. Asta would come back with Finral to see two faces he hadn't met before. Charmy would introduce herself and ask Asta if he was hungry, and Asta would tell her that he was absolutely starving. Asta would then look at Noelle, who asked if Asta was part of the Vermilion family or if he was part of another noble family. "I'm not a noble. I was raised in Hanj village. My father was a dragon spirit, Igneel," Asta said as he reached his hand out to shake Noelle's. And Noelle immediately slapped his hand away, saying that no commoner had the right or privilege to lay a hand on her whatsoever. "I'm a noble, so that means you're all beneath me. So don't get any ideas. I'm not part of this stupid squad or any of y'all's friends," Noelle said, and immediately everyone looked at Asta, who just had this rage on his face. "Oh shit, he's gonna kill her," Finral said, and everyone tried to stop Asta, but he literally just went back to training. And this time his body was steaming. It burned just to touch him. Asta then let out a huge fire dragon's roar that even the ground itself started to burn and even melted a little bit. The air was so hot it felt like all the moisture in the air just evaporated. It was gone. Asta then hit the ground exhausted, saying that he feels a lot better now and that he could use some food. Charmy knew just what to do and began cooking up a storm. Once the food was ready, Asta would eat like crazy, and he'd eat more than anybody else thought possible, and Charmy loved it. She loved having someone enjoy her cooking that much, and Asta loved the food and drinks. "Come on guys, don't be so down. This is supposed to be a party. Now let's celebrate," Asta said as he devoured a plate of fire chicken. The Black Bulls partied like crazy. They fought, ate, drank, and just enjoyed themselves, and eventually they all passed out. Days would pass and Asta took on some solo missions, tracking down bandits and capturing them. Asta would do several other simple missions, as well as one day Asta would get back from a mission, and this just being his 6th successful mission, he was just wanting a bit more excitement, something that was a bit more challenging, but he really couldn't complain too much. Asta would stumble upon Noelle training and seeing her missing everything. "You are way too flustered. Your magic won't respond well if you can't even be calm and collected, let alone have confidence in yourself," Asta said, and Noelle completely lost it, attempting to attack Asta, but her spell would rebound, backfiring on her, and a huge amount of water formed around her and began to drown her, but Asta immediately just rocketed himself towards her, yelling, "Fire Dragon's crushing fang," as he swiped the bubble, causing all the water to immediately evaporate. And Asta grabbed Noelle, landing safely on the ground as everyone would rush out, and Noelle would wake up and slap Asta, demanding that he let her go. "Hey, is that how you thank someone who literally just saved your life?" Magna yelled at Noelle as she began to tear up, only for Asta to wipe her tears away, saying that it's alright. That's what family's for. And this really got to Noelle, as she really felt bad about everything she said and did, and slowly her view on everyone would start to change. A couple days later, Asta and Noelle would be given a mission with Magna to go hunt some boars in Saucy Village, and Asta wasn't too excited when he learned that he had to ride a broom. With little choice though, Asta rode the broom, and immediately his motion sickness kicked in, and stayed all the way until they landed in the forest. Asta then immediately recovered and began to hunt down some boars, but they found them already slaughtered. This immediately raised a red flag, and the fog wasn't a good sign either. Asta would lead the way, guiding them to the village, where they would see the entire town held hostage. In the middle would be Sehi, dead on the ground with his grandson crying, begging his grandfather to wake up. And Asta lost it. He immediately defeated the grunts in front of him while Magna and Noelle took on the other ones. "If you make another move, I will kill everybody here," he said as he created ice spikes aimed at the townspeople. Asta released a huge burst of fire that melted the ice instantly. "How dare you hurt these people? And for what, huh? What was it all for?" Tell me, Asta said as he charged right at Heath, yelling Fire Dragon's Iron Fist, Fire Dragon's Brilliant Flame, now Fire Dragon's Crushing Fang, and Fire Dragon's Roar. Asta would land each attack successfully one after the other and would finish Heath off, which only barely didn't kill him. However, Heath would just land on the ground, and Asta wanted to know a name. But Heath said he would rather die than betray the Eye of the Midnight Suns. He then turned to ice and shattered, killing himself. Asta had a name now, and he swore that he would crush them. And this really made Noelle put everything into perspective, and she was glad that she could help. Because as Asta started laying into Heath, debris began to fall towards the people. And so Noelle used a spell, and the water barrier was actually successful in casting and saved everyone from the burning debris. Magna felt kind of helpless, as he didn't really get to do anything too much, and if Asta hadn't been there, he probably would have died. The trip back was long. When they arrived, though, they gave Captain Yami the report and showed him the magic stone that some bird had given Asta before they left. They were told to rest, and Asta honestly was restless and decided to walk through the forest and explore it a bit. After all, he'd been having weird dreams of a place called Fairy Tale, and the adventures of someone called Natsu, who used the exact same magic as him. Asta needed time to think and clear his head. He would walk for hours, eventually not even knowing where he was or how far he'd traveled, but something just told him to keep going a little bit further, and eventually he would arrive at a place that was covered in trees, but in the middle there was a partially destroyed building that had become overgrown in vines and weeds, but through it all there was a sign that said, "Welcome to Fairy Tale." Asta couldn't believe it and began to explore the building, finding all sorts of old cards with a language that he really didn't recognize. But most importantly, he found paintings that depicted what it was like to live inside this building. He'd seen the people from these paintings in his dreams, and tears would begin to well up and fall from his face onto the painting. "It seems your soul remembers what it was like back then, huh, Natsu?" Hearing this, Asta would turn to see a blonde girl from his dreams. "Who are you?" Asta would ask, while the tears ran down his face. Something in his soul broke through, however, saying, "Lucy? Is that you?" But that's where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a cliffhanger. But I'm really excited to do this, and as soon as this gets done being recorded, I'm immediately going to start writing out part 2, because I am really excited to do this series. But, yeah. Anyways, this was my first attempt at a Black Clover What If, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it. And if you have, I would appreciate you guys liking the video, subscribing if you're new for more Black Clover content coming. And this one may not be the best, but as time goes, I will get a lot better, and things will just start flowing a bit more easier and all over the place. It's like what I did with Rain. You know, it was a little bit rough at first, but eventually, as time goes on, I'll start getting it, and you guys will start getting a lot more content. So, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and anyways, have a great rest of your day. Remember, God is good. You guys are too.